Well, now to some media buzz. In the 2012 election, Mitt Romney was often dogged by questions about his wealth as Democrats tried to portray him as out of touch, and the media really followed suit with a focus on his wealth. Now, already in 2016 race, we have candidates that are facing very similar criticism. Let's bring in Howie Kurtz, Fox News media analyst and the host of Media Buzz. So, Howie, how do you see this shaping up as far as the focus on wealth when it comes to the Republican candidates and when it comes to the Democrats as well?
Really seems to be resonating this year, Jenna, and to me that really struck home this week because Mike Huckabee, a guy who had a modest upbringing in a town called Hope, Arkansas, got hit with a Politico headline that said the populist one percenter, because Huckabee has made a lot of money in recent years in broadcasting, including here at Fox News. And Huckabee must be sensitive to this because when he gave his announcement speech this week, he talked about, well, I don't have a family foundation and I grew up blue collar, not blue blood.
So do you think that's effective, that his trying to come out and be, I guess, go on the offense a little bit against that? What does that tell you about how strong candidates feel that criticism coming from the media could be?
Well, I think politicians have always liked to have a log cabin upbringing going back many centuries. But sure, because of the Mitt Romney example and because business success can often be penalized by the media, Jeb Bush now facing some of the same questions because he, after giving up the Florida governorship, has a business background, worked with some Wall Street banks. It has become a liability. And I think usually there's this sort of stereotypical, well, if you're a Republican who has made a lot of money in business, you're a fat cat, you don't care about average people. Democrats, if you go back to FDR, JFK, I think are seen more, depicted more often as still caring about the middle class, but an exception, I think, would be the Clintons because of the struggles that they have had. Hillary Clinton talking about being dead broke when they came out of the White House just this week. Bill Clinton telling NBC's Cynthia McFadden, when asked about, would he give up giving $500,000 speeches now that his wife's running for president, he says, I got to pay our bills, as if they're just scraping by. So it's becoming an issue for the Clintons as well.
And also with the Clintons, there's questions about a conflict of interest as well, which is not just about being wealthy, but about who the money's coming from and how it's being used. And so that's a little bit different than some of the criticism that we saw of Mitt Romney, but obviously it's coming up for all these candidates. I thought it was really interesting what you brought up in your article this week, how you mentioned JFK. You think back to Camelot and Jackie O, for example, and these figures are still icons. They were very, very wealthy, right? But no one was really criticizing them for that. And even today, looking back on them, there's still that feeling of this period of time that's so special in America. Do you think that was about the media coverage not being on, hyper-focused on the wealth? Or do you think it's because, for example, JFK was just a different figure than a Hillary Clinton or a Mike Huckabee?
Well, I think the media coverage in 1960 reflected a simpler society where we weren't as cynical about politics and politicians and money. And if you came from a wealthy family, you were considered a big success. Now, as we saw with Mitt Romney and Bain Capital and questions about layoffs and outsourcing come up, inevitably when reporters start digging in, that can be a very much more mixed record. So the culture has changed, the media have changed, and politicians, I think, don't want to be tagged with this label of he's so rich he doesn't know the price of milk at the supermarket.
That's right. Everyone has to get that quiz before they go in for a big interview. How much is milk? How much is a gallon of gas? I mean, I don't even know how much milk is right now. And I buy a lot of milk, I got to tell you, as a new mom. Howie, what do you have coming up on Media Buzz?
Well, Deflategate. We're going to be all over pumping up this story about Tom Brady brushing off the questions about the NFL finding that he and the Patriots did, in fact, tamper with the footballs. I think there's a lot of interest in this one, and I don't think Brady can just no comment his way past this crisis.
Yeah, he doesn't have time. He didn't have time to digest it, Howie. That's what.
Oh, yes. He's got to huddle with his advisors and do a lot of digesting.
Right, digest it all. All right, Howie. See you on Sunday.
Thanks, Jenna.